Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video for the warships. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the best gunboat destroyers that you can play in World of Warships. I would say these are the best gunboat destroyers. These are not torpedo boats, but there might be some that are kind of hybrid. But I'm going to be explaining everything in detail. What are these destroyers? Are they really powerful in this current sort of passive meta where there are a lot of ships just running behind the covers or maybe on the spawn? But these destroyers are something, if you pick them and play according to their strengths and weaknesses, I would definitely going to say one thing, that you will most likely have a higher chance in winning the games in World of Warships. And I will explain every single bit of those destroyers, which destroyer has what strength and weakness. You will definitely going to find out in this video. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I make a lot of World of Warship videos. Every single bit of information that you need, you can comment me down below in the description. I will help you guys as much as possible. What do you guys think? What are your analysis? What are your thoughts? You can just let me know in the comments below. I will try to answer your questions if possible. And I will now talk about these destroyers. Now, these destroyers that I'm going to be explaining are top-notch gunboat destroyers. They're going to be having really good firepower. They have really good strength, along with some weaknesses, obviously, because some destroyers do have some, unique weaknesses where you should be mitigating that problem, particularly for that destroyer. But otherwise, you will be having a lot of good time and a lot of fun in randoms and rank battles. These are probably my top picks. I have almost all destroyers in World of Warships, so yeah, I probably not be able to get that much wrong. But obviously, depending upon player to player, their choices might vary. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about our first destroyer. So the first destroyer is going to be Kleber. It's a Tech 3 French destroyer, and I would highly recommend this destroyer that you should play in randoms. It is definitely very, very powerful, and probably one of the best Tech 3 destroyers that you can grind for a gunboat style farming ship. Because simply, if I talk about the Kleber strengths, the first strength is going to be pretty decent HP, but maybe it looks like to be 25,000. But on top of that, Kleber has a saturation mechanics. Its mechanics are such that if you take damage, unlike any other destroyer in World of Warships, except a couple of some destroyers which are also in the category of French destroyers, Kleber takes less damage, probably half over time, whenever it loses out quite a lot of HP. So when you started to lose a lot of HP, your survivability kicks in a lot much more better, because you will take half of the damage because of these saturation mechanics. Okay, I'm not going to be explaining those mechanics, but in general, your effective HP is a lot much more higher than what you are currently seeing right now. So it is really powerful. The guns, 8 of them, the reload time might not be that looking impressive, but the HE Alpha with AP, especially AP at close ranges around 10 to 9 kilometers or 8 kilometers, if you use that AP effectively, you can just smash those light cruisers like Minotaur, Smaland, or Jinan. These are all cruisers that will be taking heavy damage from this AP, and HE Shell has a really good fire chance of 10%. The penetration is probably only 23mm, but that is enough to form the superstructure of battleships. Your torpedoes are also out there. I mean, I'm talking about the gunboat destroyer specifically, but these torpedoes are also really powerful. Damage is high. They have short range, but they are very useful in close quarters. You have depth charges, which is pretty good against submarines. Your concealment might not be that impressive. It's only 7.8 kilometers. So there's one thing that you should be keeping in mind, that the destroyers will most likely going to outspot you. But once you spot the destroyer, you can just half the reload time in the Kleber by using this consumable, which is main battery reload booster. This is a game changer, man. I mean, you can just literally have this absurd DPM get into the half. Like, the damage per minute is not that bad already, okay? With the captain build that I can show you here, this is my captain build, and well, I'm using Jack Jean's Honor, and then you just use this Fearless Brawler to improve the reload time, as well as the reload time further with the main battery and AA Specialist. Your reload time can go down to 5.9 seconds, and your main battery reload time booster, whatever you call it, it will reduce the reload even further, absolutely obliterating destroyers in close quarters, or whenever you're able to get the destroyer spotted. Your shell locks are amazing, your guns are really on point, the HP and survivability, just like I said, is pretty good. You cannot go wrong with the Kleber. The speed, I haven't talked about it. The speed is insane. 20% increase in speed with the engine boost. is definitely pretty powerful, and it is lasting pretty long. It's not like emergency engine boost. It's a normal engine boost with a really long action time, and obviously that helps a lot in sustaining that speed. And you can just speed juke every shell out there if you just throttle juke and understand how the speed can be manipulated against the enemy shells that are coming towards you. Kleber is really powerful. So I would highly recommend to pick this gunboat destroyer. From the tech tree line, it is available. You can go and check that out. It's in the French tech tree line, and that is really powerful. So let's go and talk about another really powerful gunboat line. All right, so another gunboat destroyer that I would highly recommend, and that is a bit more versatile, I would say, compared to Kleber, but it kind of resembles to a lot of the stuff compared to Kleber. That is Gdansk. It's a what do we call it? Pan-European destroyer. You can get it. It's a tech tree line, so it is grindable for free. You just have to grind the entire line. And well, what Gdansk has, unlike Kleber, it is a different set of consumable. I haven't talked about the Kleber, but Kleber does not have smoke. Okay, if I can show you the Kleber, maybe I haven't talked about it. It does not have smoke, so that's one thing you should be keeping in mind. But on the other hand, Gdansk does have smoke, the engine boost, as well as radar. Now, there is not a whole lot of tech tree destroyers, at least what I know, that have a radar, except for from the premium destroyers. Like premium destroyers, there are some, but tech tree line only has this radar from Gdansk. It's really powerful. 9 kilometer. Even though your concealment might not be impressive, and I haven't built for concealment. I use Jerzy Swiderski. This is a seasoned captain, unique commander that you can get for coal, and highly recommend that on Gdansk. You also have torpedoes, improved adrenaline rush. Obviously, you just make it a gunboat destroyer, so you just build it for guns. It is really powerful. The damage per minute is really high. You can see here, it has 7 guns compared to Kleber's 8 guns, but still the shell velocity is pretty much comparable. The firing range, I have increased the firing range from this skill, which we call main battery and A specialist, which is pretty nice. You have engine boost, you have smoke, and you do have radar. You can smoke up and radar the destroyer for 10 seconds, or you can even improve the radar duration by using surveillance radar mod 1, but I would highly recommend to use the engine boost mod 1, because the engine boost, unlike Kleber, it's not gonna last long. It has an action time of 90 seconds, so this is something that you should be keeping in mind. But the guns are really powerful. It does not have saturation mechanics that Kleber has, but you have slightly better HP. You have 10 kilometer range of torpedoes, which helps a lot, even though the damage is not going to be that impressive. You have really good maneuverability. It's almost getting towards 47, 48 knots of speed with engine boost. And you do have worse concealment, but you can build for concealment if you want to, but I would not recommend it, since you do have radars that reload very quickly, by the way. Usually, and typically radars does have a cooldown around 80 to at least 120 seconds. In the case of Gdansk, you will have very fast, cooldown time, even though it does have a, short action time. But still, radars are really useful in chunking out those DDs or killing those DDs that are pretty low in HP. And Gdansk, with this insanely, base firepower of Gdansk is way higher than Kleber. I can clearly see. I mean, Kleber has to use main battery reload booster consumable. Gdansk will be just fine. It's really powerful. I don't think so. You can, you can be wrong with this gunboat and Kleber. Both are really top picks. Whether you want to use them in ranked or random battles, it will just work fine. The fire chance is also 10%. Just like I said, it's like a brother of Kleber in some way, but having one less gun. But there are a couple of differences. But other than that, both are really top picks. I would highly recommend Gdansk. Well, a couple of things that I want to mention about the Gdansk as well, just to let you guys know that it does not have armor-piercing shells, okay? That's one of the things that Gdansk loses because of this really good firepower, but otherwise Gdansk is a really good package. Unlike the Holland, which is a torpedo boat destroyer, Gdansk has not that impressive A, so this is also something that I should keep you guys in mind, that, yeah, you cannot expect that much power from the AA defenses against CV attacks. You will be having a lot much more problems against carriers, but otherwise, Gdansk is such a good package that you will be just fine against any other destroyer, cruisers, or even battleships. Alright, so another destroyer that I would highly recommend is going to be for F.Sherman. Now, unlike the Tech 3 destroyers, this is a premium destroyer, okay? It's an American premium destroyer that is pretty unique in World of Warships, but it is also a very powerful gunboat in World of Warships. Actually, pretty fearsome by a lot of, for a lot of reasons. Now, first of all, again, compared to Gdansk, it has a lot much better HP, slightly better HP, I would say, 28,400, which is pretty nice, but not having those saturation mechanics that Kleber has. So Kleber still have effectively higher HP to compare to these destroyers, but still, that is a really good thing to have a lot better base HP. The guns, only 3 of them, but it has pretty much the absurd reload time of 1.3 seconds. So almost, with 3 of these guns, your reload time is 1.3 seconds, which is pretty absurd. And you do have HE shells and SAP shells, semi-armor piercing shells, which is a game changer. They have insane alpha damage, and when you start to shoot this SAP that has broadside having less armor penetration, having less armor than 36mm, you will start to penetrate their armor and just deal insane damage. So the SAP damage with this insane reload time on three of these guns makes Sherman an absolute insane gunboat destroyers, probably by a huge margin compared to other destroyers in World of Warships. There are a couple of those destroyers, but still, Sherman is really powerful. The firing range is 12.6 kilometer. You can increase it because the shell velocity of the Sherman is also very impressive. It's kind of like closer to the Gdansk shell velocity and Kleber shell velocity levels. So there's nothing wrong with that. Also, you do have American smokes. These smokes are found in Gearing Tech 3 line, which is the best smoke for long duration ones, okay? These are very long duration ones, so you just basically smoke up and just farm battleships with ease. If they're broadside, you use SAP, semi-armor piercing shells. They just penetrate, they don't set fires, but they have alpha damage that is higher than HE shells. But again, if the ship is getting angled towards you, you can always switch to HE shells, and HE shells have really good fire chance of 9%. You can increase it to 10%, which is pretty much similar to Kleber and Gdansk, and that shows that the fire chance is pretty absurd. With the SAP and HE shells, with this decent alpha, you will be having really good time with Sherman farming ships here and there in random battles as well as in ranked battles. Unlike Kleber and Gdansk, at least Sherman has defensive air fire. If I talk about some AA defenses of Sherman, I think Sherman with defensive AA with 100% continuous AA damage helps the Sherman a lot. With this AA defense, with defensive air fire, and with this base AA defense, which is not impressive, the defense rating without defensive air is not going to be that good. But with defensive air fire, you will be sort of able to fend off against those airstrikes that are coming towards your way. But one more thing that Sherman has, unlike Kleber and Gdansk, is this Hydro. Hydro saves a lot of, that problems that destroyers, torpedo boat destroyers, particularly, threatens you, to top you, I guess. So I think the Hydro will help a lot against ships if they are pushing into you, especially destroyers. You can catch destroyers off guard with detection of 5 kilometers of ships and detection of torpedoes with 3.5 kilometers. So you cannot be getting, having any problems with Sherman, I would just say. It's a really, it can be played pretty aggressively as well as defensively with the smoke. With the Hydro, you can spot destroyers. If anything pushes you, you will be just fine. Concealment is definitely on the higher side, 6.5 kilometer, but that is sort of a balancing factor because Sherman has really good firepower. It is so insane, you just eat destroyers like a breakfast. It is definitely that powerful. So concealment with 6.5 kilometer is sort of justified, but it is definitely on the higher side. Gdansk and Kleber also have really high concealment, even worse than Sherman, but still, that will just limit your aggressiveness if you want to do so. But at least Gdansk have radar. As you can see, Sherman has Hydro, which having a detection at 5 kilometers, and your concealment is 6.5. So, yeah, this is something that you should be keeping in mind. Maneuverability is slightly sluggish side because it does not have access to any speed boost. So 34 knot speed, I would say 35.6 knots of speed with the Sierra mic signal, the speed flag. turning circle is okay, the rudder shift is okay, but yeah, maneuverability it is gonna feel sluggish. If you don't have hydro ready, you're gonna eat torpedoes, I can tell you that, because that turns like sort of a brick, considering it's a destroyer. So that one thing you should be keeping in mind. And also one thing that I want to tell you that is torpedoes. These torpedoes are only 4 of them, 2 per side. As you can see here, these are the torpedoes. You can see here 2 torpedoes, and they have a very limited firing angle. So you just have to aim pretty much particularly on an area where you just want to shoot. Like it's not going to be easy to aim them, okay? So Sherman has pretty terrible, I would say, firing angles, but it's kind of a defensive more than aggressive. Like if any battleship actually trying to push you into smoke, these torpedoes will come really handy. I can tell you that. Really handy, because torpedo alpha is pretty decent, and if you got 2 torpedoes, most likely you will kill a target if they are pretty low. So Sherman is really powerful. I mean, you do have 16-kilometer range, 69 knot speed, so speed is pretty good, detection is pretty good, but still, defensive tool, torpedoes are more of a defensive tool. The powerful tool is going to be your guns. And with HP, that is 28,000, you will be just fine. Sherman, I would highly recommend. It is available right now for Cole. Definitely a very powerful destroyer that you should pick. Alright, so another gunboat destroyer. This time, again, a French destroyer. That is a brother of Kleber, which is Marceau. Probably one of the strongest destroyers alongside with Kleber in terms of its gunboat power. Now, just like Kleber, well, Marceau has 8 of the guns. Exactly like Kleber, but they have slightly, or I would say quite a bit of differences in its guns. First of all, Marceau has base reload time of 3.5 seconds, which is way better than Kleber guns. Now, Kleber guns does have slightly better, I would say way better shell velocity. The shells will just travel extremely quickly. The base firing range is pretty impressive at 13.6. The Marceau, on the other hand, does not have really good firing range. I have increased it with the help of the captain skill, and I'm using Charles Henry Honor, another special captain, which improves adrenaline rush as well. So I use main battery and AA expert alongside with fearless brawler and main battery and AA specialist to increase the gun power that Marceau already has good right now. So 25,400. Again, the saturation mechanics that I have talked about the Kleber, it will take reduced damage once it takes quite a lot of damage over time. So once its HP gets down to around half or even lower, you will start to take less damage because of those saturation mechanics that is specifically for Kleber and Marceau, which is pretty nice. These guns have a very good reload time, really good guns. Damage per minute is definitely better. Base reload time is so high, so you will just absolutely shred any battleship, or at least farm them with ease. But one thing that you should be keeping in mind, that Marceau has pretty poor shell ballistics. The shells travel time increase pretty significantly after 10 kilometers. In fact, even 8 and 9 kilometers, they will be very slow and sluggish. So yeah, you have to aim those perfectly, and at long ranges, you're mostly going to farm battleships. At long ranges, you cannot even able to touch destroyers. So it's going to be a bit rough the further the ship's going to be from Marceau. So that is one thing that you should be keeping in mind. But main battery firing range is still pretty good. You should use it and mount it on Marceau. You should use this captain build if possible. Torpedoes, kind of like Kleber, but having a bit difference in terms of its torpedo alpha damage as well as its speed. So as you can see here, torpedo range is slightly higher than Kleber's, from 8 to 9. Damage is only 14k. Which is, quite a lot significantly lower. Like Kleber has 18k alpha. This has a lot better, or I would say better detection compared to Kleber's. If I can show you, Kleber has 1.8 kilometers, so they will be spotted a bit, quickly, or at least from the further. But the Marceau at least have this ability, which is like you just send torpedoes with ease. You do have how many torpedoes? You do have. Again, the same torpedoes, 6 on one side, 6 on other side, so that is pretty good. So in general, there are some differences, like reload time is significantly higher in Marceau as compared to Kleber. But apart from these differences, you do have quite a lot of torpedoes like Kleber on each side, which is pretty nice. I mean, I'm talking about these gunboat destroyers in particular, so torpedoes are just a bonus, I would say. And having more torpedoes is always better, I would say, so it's pretty good. But on the other hand, what is the main difference between Kleber and Marceau, these French destroyers, is going to be anti-air defense. Now, Marceau has pretty much the similar engine boost style, like the speed is almost similar, but it does have access to defensive air fire, which does help a lot. Kleber has, in general, average anti-defense. It will not be able to do anything against CVs, but at least Marceau, with this insane speed, you will be able to juke those CV strikes, as well as use defensive air fire to shoot down even more planes. So defensive air fire will help a bit on that Marceau, and its AA defense is slightly better than Kleber, which helps a lot. Maneuverability, just like I said, pretty much similar to Kleber, so speed is insane. Concealment is actually better than Kleber. Even without using the concealment, I have 7.7 kilometer concealment, and if I fully build for it, Marceau has 7.0, or I would say 7 kilometer concealment, which is a lot better than Kleber's 7.8. So that is really nice, okay? So if you build it fully, Marceau will be almost similar to Kleber's, or at least better than Kleber's concealment, which is pretty nice. So I would say Marceau, if you are looking to have a really powerful gunboat, which farms a lot quicker without relying on main battery reload booster, Marceau is a really powerful destroyer. It will kill destroyers absolutely hardest way possible. If they are very close, I mean, you just shred them into pieces. It's so powerful. So Marceau is highly recommended. It's available right now for Cole, so you can get it right now. Alright, so another destroyer that I'm going to be talking about is going to be the Commonwealth destroyer, that is Vampire 2. Probably one of the strongest destroyers in terms of damage per minute, an absolutely amazing ship and fun to play in randoms as well as in ranked battles, okay? So Vampire 2 is available for research bureau points. If you regrind the lines, if you just reset the lines that you have already grinded out to tier 10, you can have Vampire 2 if you just get enough points. Now, Vampire 2, unlike any destroyer in the game, has something which I call it, or at least Wargaming calls them, crawling smoke generator. Now, you slightly move like at 1/4 of the speed, and you will still be in the smoke. So it's like a crawling smoke. You will just move, and it will have pretty much similar consumable action time like gearing. So the smokes last crazy long, and just like the Sherman, you have Hydro, which is really powerful and helpful against destroyers, as well as engine boost. And by the way, Vampire 2 has some sort of British destroyer characteristics. It's kind of like a British destroyer hull, but having a different nation and different set of flavor, which I will explain. So first of all, these guns are kind of similar to Daring. The Daring is a British tier 10 destroyer. You can see here, there's no difference whatsoever, but apart from no difference in the caliber of the guns, at least the reload time compared to Daring, Vampire 2 has slightly better. So better firepower, as well as, this smoke with Hydro, that is also 5 kilometer compared to Daring's 3 kilometer, as well as engine boost, and you have improved acceleration in Daring. You do have this in Vampire 2, but you also have engine boost, which is pretty nice, okay? I don't know who messes me, but I'm just gonna keep making the video that I want to make. So yeah, these guns are really good. These torpedoes are really good, but these torpedoes are only 5 of them, but these are really high damaging torpedoes. Give me a second. High damaging torpedoes. Couple of things that I want to mention is going to be the concealment. Concealment is really nice. 5.8 kilometer concealment is very much closer to that of torpedo boat destroyers. It is very competitive in concealment, and combined with the fact that it has crawling smoke generator and Hydro, you can just rush DDs in their smokes and you will be still cover yourself in smoke up because the smoke is crawling with you, okay? And it has enough action time that you can get the distance closer to those destroyers. With the Hydro, you can catch them off guard, and with this damage per minute that it has, the guns will absolutely smash. They're really powerful. The AP on broadside destroyers will pen just like Daring, and obviously the HE shells have really good fire chance. The base fire chance is 8%. You can increase it with using flags, and even if you want to use Demo Expert, it will get up to 10%. So the fire per minute in Vampire 2 is probably one of the highest in World of Warships. So you can just set fires upon fires upon fires with these high reload time, or at least fast firing guns of 2.1 seconds of reload time. So AP and HE both are very potent, especially AP against destroyers, and I would highly recommend Vampire 2. Now, anti-defense might, again, compared to at least Sherman, it's not that good. Compared to at least Marceau, it's not that good because it does not have access to defensive air fire. But it is kind of very much relevant, or I would say comparable to Kleber's and Gdansk. And that's basically it. So entire defense, you won't expect much, but your concealment, since it's very competitive, you will be able to kill their DDs with ease and farm their battleships and cruisers if you want to use this smoke effectively for yourself. Absolutely amazing destroyer. You should pick one if you have research bureau points. Let's talk about a couple of destroyers that are remaining in my opinion. Alright, so another destroyer that I would highly recommend, it is available for steel. This is a pan-European destroyer, that is Ragnar. Pretty interesting destroyer, I would say, in World of Warships because, well, as you can see, the HP is insane. 30,000 HP, and you have 152mm guns. So pretty high caliber guns on a destroyer. It is definitely a bit thicker, and the interesting part about the Ragnar is that, well, let's not talk about the armor first. I want to talk about the consumables. It has radar. And there are, just like I said, there are not a whole lot of destroyers that have radar. Only the Gdansk, Smaland, and Ragnar has, and there are a couple of other destroyers that have surveillance radar. So surveillance radar is going to be pretty potent against destroyers. 30 seconds of action time, emergency engine power, so you have increased speed of 30%, which is pretty insane. You basically become a French destroyer for at least 78 seconds, which is really powerful. With this massive HP of 30,000, you have on top of that heals, which is a really nice thing. Like, heals are really powerful, honestly, for a destroyer. So Ragnar is really, really good. Your concealment, if you build it fully, it will get to 7.5 kilometer concealment. So what basically happens? If the destroyer that pushes this Ragnar, it will be spotted by a radar. Like 7.5 kilometer concealment and radar means that if you get spotted, you can just automatically press the button of radar, and you will just counter DDs with ease. And you have pretty decent alpha damage, 2,200 with 11% fire chance, as well as very potent AP, armor piercing shells. They hit like a truck on broadside cruisers, so it's very, very powerful as well. The best thing about the Ragnar, it is available for free right now. There are a couple of ships like Smaland and Lushun that I will explain in probably the bonus section. They are not available but at least it's like a poor man's Smaland. Smaland, it's a smaller brother, I would say. It's probably the most broken ship in World of Warships, but that is not available. I will explain that ship as well, but Ragnar is insanely good as well. Now, talking about the anti-defense, I think probably the best anti-defense that Wargaming has given is going to be the Ragnar. Probably one of those destroyers, alongside with Holland. It's a Tech 3 destroyer that has really good anti-defense. Ragnar also have really good anti-defense. Just one thing that you should be knowing, that if a CV planes get into the firing range of 4 kilometer, or I would say, if the CV planes get into the 4 kilometer, their planes going to get shred down pretty powerfully. Like 669 damage per minute from the AA aura is insane. And that's why it has very high anti-defense rating, and your firing range is also 6.9 kilometers. So you just basically try to bait carrier into just coming towards you, turn off your A and turn on whenever they are right on the top of you. You will be able to see how much you will be able to shred planes. At least tier 8s will just absolutely going to hate you dropping you. It's impossible for them to get a good strike regardless because of this. But at least tier 10s will have some chance, but they will lose some planes for sure. Absolutely. So it's very good for a tier 10 destroyer. That AA is impressive, without a doubt. Maneuverability is something that is kind of lacking because its space speed is only 37 knots almost. And with this emergency engine power, it's a temporary buff that is only lasting for slightly more than a minute. And I'm using engine boost mod 1 on top of that. So yeah, this is something that you should be keeping in mind. The reload time of these consumables is very high, 180 seconds, as well as The radar also have 120 seconds compared to the Gdansk. Gdansk has faster reload time. Ragnar has slower, but it is still very potent, 30 seconds of duration. So you're just basically going to destroy or kill a DD along the way. So I hope I talked about the Ragnar. Oh yeah, I forgot. I literally forgot one thing. I increased the firing range to 15.6 kilometer because I'm using the similar captain, Jerzy Swirsky, like I'm using on Gdansk. I just put it directly to Ragnar since it's a premium ship. And one thing that you should be knowing that it has special dispersion on its guns. It does not have torpedoes. That's a big downside. I know that it does not have torpedoes, but the gun power is really good. And the special thing about the gun power is it has a special dispersion that is improved even better than destroyers. It has better dispersion than destroyers, okay? If I talk about the Sherman, even though its firing range is 12.6, its dispersion is 102 meters, okay? Ragnar with even 15.6 kilometers having a dispersion of 65 meters. So these shells are pinpoint accurate. So yeah, you can just set fires if you just farm the superstructure with ease, with 11% fire chance, with 30 millimeter armor penetration, by the way, which is really good to penetrate cruisers, because most cruisers at that tier has 30 millimeter. That is really nice. You will have penetration damage, not going to have shatters on cruisers, which is pretty good. So Ragnar is a really good ship. I would definitely going to recommend that ship in randoms. It's not certainly easy to play. It's not easy to play, but if you just practice it right, you will be able to just win a lot of games, especially killing destroyers with Ragnar is going to be pretty easy. So that will help a lot in winning the games. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about some of the bonus destroyers that are probably not available for a huge player base right now. I have access to Lushun. It's a Pan-Asian tier 10 destroyer. It was a Dockyard ship, okay? It's only specifically an exclusive for Dockyard. So if you grind it out, the Lushun Dockyard, you will be having this ship. And I would say it's a really, really powerful gunboat destroyer that they have added in World of Warships. The shell velocity is pretty much comparable to that of Kleber and Gdansk. The shell velocity is really fast. Shells have very easier time even at long ranges. So I'm using pretty much increased firing range by using this captain. As you can see here, I'm using this build. And the interesting thing about the Lushun is that it has 24,500 HP. Very respectable, very nice. What makes Lushun insanely powerful is going to be the repair party. Now, just like I said, there are not a lot of destroyers that have repair party. And giving a repair party that heals around 8,000 damage, which you can do on Lushun, around 60 seconds of action time. Like, this is a heavy repair team consumable. This is a super heal. It will heal significant amount of HP. And by the way, Lushun heals 60% of the penetration damage compared to 50% penetration damage, just like you will find on normal destroyers. Lushun will slightly heal more as well, which is really nice. So these gun power with these pretty good HE shells, I mean, HE shells might actually not good. I would say it's actually below average. The fire chance is also below average, but you have very good reload time of 1.5 seconds. The thing about the Lushun is that the shell velocity and its AP. AP is probably around third or fourth highest damage per minute. So the damage output is pretty good. If anyone broadsides with your AP and with your HE, it's pretty much usually you will set fires and just farm battleship with ease. And with this super heal, I'm quite sure you will have a lot much more easier time surviving. And that's really makes Lushun absolutely powerful. And you know what makes Lushun even more powerful? Is the hydroacoustic surge. Now, it does not have smoke because they have given this ship a ridiculous heal. Giving him a smoke makes it pretty much broken. And by the way, it is already almost closer to the broken levels. But I won't say it's overpowered, but yeah. Another thing about the Lushun, 5.8 kilometer concealment. Really powerful. The maneuverability might not impress you, but again, everything is lying on the super heal. You have so many super heals. You can see you have 3 heals, and you can just heal back significant amount of HP. So if you have 24,000 HP that you are expecting in a Lushun, that's not the case. It's going to be around 40 to 45,000 in general. Like giving a destroyer that much HP effective is definitely shows how powerful that will be if you play it in randoms or in ranked battles. Now, torpedoes. 10 torpedoes, deep water torpedoes, 11 kilometer. The damage is pretty good. You won't be having any issues using these torpedoes. These are pretty much typical Pan-Asian torpedoes that you find on Yuyang and Changmu. All those Pan-Asian torpedo boat destroyers have these torpedoes. So you don't have just torpedo reload booster. That's one thing that you should be keeping in mind. No smoke, no torpedo reload booster, but having 5.5 kilometer hydro with a 5.8 kilometer concealment means you play aggressive if you want to and kill those destroyers with this hydro power. So yeah, that is really powerful. I have to say, Lushun is really powerful. With this gigantic amount of healing power, it becomes sort of a zombie. And especially if you want to trade out against other destroyers, if you want to kill destroyers, you can just literally pop the heal and you will just have amazing time killing destroyers and then just farming the rest of the team by helping also your division mates. You will keep the enemy team spotted, right? As a destroyer player, that's the biggest advantage of yours. So yeah, hopefully that will answer a lot about the Lushun, why it is really powerful gunboat destroyer. And the final destroyer that I would say probably the most powerful and the most broken destroyer in World of Warships is going to be Smaland. Pan-European destroyer that was previously available for 2 million free XP, but then they have removed it simply because it's just completely powerful, like completely broken. There is no other ship in World of Warships like Smaland. Now the reason why Smaland is really good is these 4 guns that have insane DPM. The Smaland has probably the top, it actually comes into the top 3 in terms of this insane firepower. The HP is 22,000, but again, just like Lushun, you have heal. They are normal heals, but they are pretty decent. They can heal around 4,000 and 5,000 in between that. So you just have 4 heals with insane emergency injured power that you find on Ragnar, and then you also have radar for 20 seconds. That is 7.5 kilometer. But Ragnar has 7.5 kilometer concealment. Smaland does not even need to use the concealment expert on that ship to have this concealment. It has already base concealment that is pretty good. I mean, even if I just remove this concealment system mod 1, it has a concealment of around 7.3 or 7.4 or maybe 7.5, which already shows that it has a concealment which is already pretty good compared to Ragnar. So that is the power of Smaland. You have 8 torpedoes, so unlike Ragnar that suffers from not having torpedoes, Smaland has a lot of torpedoes. 12 kilometer range, fast torpedoes, hits as, like, it doesn't hit that hard. This is like a sort of a strength that they have high speed, very high speed, but they have low damaging torpedoes. But at least Smaland has pretty decent range of 12 kilometer with decent torpedo detection of 1.6 kilometers. So it's not going to be easy to dodge those. With this insane power and the speed boost that you have, you probably don't need the smoke, I would say. And I mean, if they would have given Smaland smoke, I mean, that is just going to be absolutely crazy, right? So they haven't done that at least, but still, it is still the most broken ship in World of Warships. So yeah, that is basically the Smaland. I'm using the engine boost mod 1 on this. It is definitely going to be a really nice pick that I would highly recommend for you guys. If you have Smaland, you guys know what you do have in your port. And if you don't, you can get it from Santa containers. These containers you will get by the end of the year. Most likely at the end of 2024, you will have access to these containers where there is a rare ship Smaland that you can try to gamble, I would say, because it's a gambling in general. You have like 1% chance or even less than that to get a Smaland. So yeah, otherwise you won't be able to get it anywhere. And but still, I want to just let you guys know, which are the best, gunboat destroyers in World of Warships. Some of them have also have really good torpedoes as well. So yeah, that's what it is. So I hope you guys liked the video. I hope I explained and summarized every single bit of these gunboat destroyer. I'm quite sure there are some destroyers, like, for example, there is a good destroyer like Druid, Z42, but I will probably going to make a separate video on that. I won't just consider them like super powerful gunboats, but they are very very close to that, okay? There's also a good gunboat like Khabarovsk that I haven't even talked about, but still, I mean, even Albaro de Bazan is also kind of in a gunboat realm, right? But still, I would recommend these destroyers that I have shown in this video. So please, let me know, guys, in the comments below. What are your favorite gunboat destroyer in World of Warships? Which ship that you play most? And which destroyer that you have a really good win rate in, I would say? Please let me know in the comments below. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.